Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Upashama Prakarana, section 13, and verse number 28 onwards. Insight is being given into the state of enlightenment, and the more you understand, better becomes your sadhana. Sadhana becomes much more alive, jagrat. These qualities, or these are the characteristic indications of enlightenment. So I will recite again those two verses. Nirashata, nirbhayata, nityata, samata, jnata, nirihata, nishkriyata, samyata, nirvikalpakata, dhritir, maitri, matir, tushtir, mridita, mridubhasita, heyopadeya nirmukte, jneyatishthati, apavasanam. Nirashata, free of desires, free of expectations. I've already explained to you, this is a profounder state of experience. And it doesn't mean that you suddenly keep your mind free of all desires. In practical world, you have to see the difference between good desire and bad desire, difference between sattvic and rajasic, tamasic. But ultimate goal is absolute desirelessness. The goal is to have a revelation of the truth. Truth is Brahman. Truth is your innermost self. Fearlessness. Body, mind, intellect, all are under the influence of fear. But the self in you is absolutely untouched. So that point has to enter deep in the heart. Think of sun reflecting in a jar. A reflected sun is subject to all types of fear. Every little thing, even a little frog shakes it up. But the utter awareness, I am the sun, that awareness, that's your goal. And that goal is untouched, absolutely fearless. Next one, nityata, sense of eternity. The sense of transience keeps the mind highly burdened with lots of worries and anxieties, with a big load. Sense of eternity, you are free of all loads. Equanimity, implying remaining balanced in all conditions, no matter how things happen. Clouds move, so many things are happening in the sky. The sky is practicing equanimity. It's not practicing it, I'm joking. Gyata, knowledge. But here knowledge doesn't mean intellectual knowledge. Knowledge is direct experience. I am that. Nirihata, absence of agitation. Try to understand in a subtler manner. It relates to mind. Mind is constantly in a state of agitation when desires are not fulfilled or when desires are obstructed. And when you expect something to happen, mind goes through agitation. But when you realize you are not the one that is being interpreted by the mind, you are being interpreted by the mind about what you are. But the real, think of your waking state, where mind tells you how things are. Go to sleep, mind is not there to tell you. So all agitations are in and through your mind. You are beyond the mind. Led by your enlightened mind, you develop that revelation. And that type of an inner experience means you are free of agitation. Niskriyata, the real I am, is not dependent upon kriya or action, karma. Brahman is ever the same, he is not waiting to become better. No karma relates to Brahman. And so when you discover I am Brahman, you are not living a life dependent on karma and its fructification. In a state of bondage, you are constantly dependent on karma. But though apparently dependent upon karmas, the real I am is actionless, without karma. Next point, gentleness. Think of cosmic power operating through nature. How Immense is that power. And yet it operates through every little tender petal. How soft, how tender. Simple way to understand, if you become really all-powerful, your heart will be absolutely tender. If it is not, then your power is not real power. Distractionless. Mind is always looking for different objectives. Constantly distracted. And the world goes on matching up with the need of your mind. So therefore, news go on breaking every moment. You look by the TV, and if there is no breaking of the news, it's boring. Through the mind, if you are dependent upon the mind, you are living in a world of constant breaking of news, constant distraction. In the state of enlightenment, you are not dependent upon the mind. The state of enlightenment is a revelation of the truth. Firmness. All things in this world are unstable, transient. But the self is unshaken. So as you develop that internal awareness, I am, that am I. And if you keep that goal before your view, it allows you to have patience during challenging situations. And that type of firmness that you see in life, that gives you so much success, triumph, reaches its climax when you have attained enlightenment. Friendliness, matri. Simple point to understand, the entire world is expression of the self. Ahame vedam sarvam. Your I am becomes the reality behind everything. This being so, how could you be unfriendly towards anything? Give you simpler illustration. If teeth bite your tongue, how could you be unfriendly towards the teeth and break them down? You love both, the teeth and the tongue. understanding, mati. Mati is understanding, enlightened state is sanamati, absolute enlightened understanding. Sanamati means a constant understanding that I am that, I am Brahman. And the world is not the reality. And that understanding is not ordinary understanding. In practical life, there is role of understanding. You understand a person, say for example, a person appeared inimical to you because he didn't say goodbye, even though he was a great friend of yours. You spent whole week hating the person, that he has become my enemy. Next week, you discover that your friend was suffering from severe headache, so he couldn't lift even his eyes. And then all your misunderstanding and hatred that you had gathered in your mind, they simply slip away. Misunderstanding creates lots of problems. But when you look for where is misunderstanding and how does it look like, that goes beyond your grasp, eludes your grasp, because it has no reality. That's the predicament of the world, the disease of the world process. Base, root cause, misunderstanding. Right understanding, I am, that am I. Misunderstanding, I am this body. And so many relatives and friends are bodies. That's misunderstanding. Because now, in order to be happy, all your bodies have to be good. And the world will not give you that sense of ideal perfection. Put it in another way, if your mind is becoming saintly mind, then instead of developing a will to hurt others, someone has done negative deed and demoniac, your heart prays, sabko sanamati de Bhagwan. Oh God, give sanamati to that person. What does it imply? Make him Brahman. Let everyone discover I am that. Because there lies the resolution to all problems. Contentment, tripti. Profound state of attainment means there is absolute contentment. In daily life, discontent plays a tremendous part. There is constantly but discontent discontent is sickness. It implies you are looking at others and developing a misunderstanding. The others are doing much positive things and you are not doing the same. Others are gaining a lot and you are not. And so therefore discontentment goes on developing. It's a matter of comparison, constantly comparing. In this state of enlightenment, you have no possibility to compare. Sun does not compare, so it doesn't need any repair. It goes upstairs. Nitya Tripti, that's the great ideal goal before every individual. Absolute contentment. And also remember all the four gatekeepers. Shama, serenity. Serenity is the same as equanimity. Santosh, contentment. Satsang, good association. Vichar, constant reflective mind. Mind should not become kiddish mind, childish mind. Make your mind adult mind. And that making the mind adult is not ordinary thing. It requires process. Child doesn't grow up like that, no matter how parents may think. Make the child grow takes its own time. Tushti, mriduta, tenderness. To understand tenderness, just like when you suffer, your attitude to that suffering is a tender attitude. Tender means you want the suffering to be cured, healed, balm should be put on it. But that type of attitude is not there when you see others suffer. Bearer knows where the shoe pinches. Others have their shoes and they are pinching them also. So when they cry out, I'm giving crude illustration. You simply say, why? Why you have lost your cool? There's nothing there. It's all your imagination. So it's easy to say when others suffer. What I'm leading you to understand in an artistic way, deep down in your heart, there must be such profound love, that just like you would have had your own baby cured, let others' babies be cured. Go a step further, just like you would have liked to see your adversity, your sickness go. Likewise, everyone wants, and if you could add, that should be your heart. Let everyone sarve bhavantu sukhina. That type of heart has to develop. That's called tenderness. But that tenderness does not mean constantly being tender and becoming impractical in the world. So that's not the lesson. When you rush and take a child away, child is going to touch fire, and you grab the child in a rushed way, at that time your act is not tender, but you are practicing real tenderness. The doctors teach patience, surgical operations, and behind that there is tenderness. So, these great virtues have to be understood in a proper way. Tender speech. The more spiritually progressive you are, greater will be your control over your speech. If you are not advancing, then you will find yourself again and again shocked and surprised by how loathsome your speech comes out of your tongue. The speech will come out and then you will regret. But that comes within your control, even in challenging situations. And that gives tremendous power to any person. Hiyopadeya nirmukte, void of gain and loss. In practical world, you are always looking for gain and loss. Gain can be, of course, for the masses, gain is material. For a spiritual aspirant, gain is your spiritual progress. The more you are able to meditate, the more you are able to do your sadhana, the more you feel internally satisfied, and so forth. That's a gain. And if you don't have it, that's a loss. But this type of predicament of gain and loss doesn't exist for one who is enlightened. Another message behind it. While you go through the world of gain and loss, try to maintain balance of your mind. With the mantra, even this will pass away. Your goal is not here in this world. So worldly gain and worldly loss They should not shake your inner being. And lastly, apavasanam, void of vasanas. Enlightened one is not dependent upon vasanas and their play. Vasanas are your subtle desires. Mentally you may make a resolve that this is the way I will do, but you are not aware of your vasana, what you have decided to do in the morning, and then vasana takes over. In the case of a sage, apavasanam. The vasana is completely transcended. His inner status is not dependent upon the role of your subconscious. Naturally, of course, in order to attain that, your vasana must be purified. Shubha vasana. O Rama, strive to destroy all the vasanas of the unconscious. When they are all destroyed through spiritual enquiry, the mind is automatically mastered and becomes incapable of creating the world process. Now giving insight into role of vasanas. Destroying the vasana, the term is used, vasana kshaya. 3 terms are important: manonash, vasana kshaya, tattva jnana. Manonash, allowing the mind to stay unshaken by raga and dvesha, attachment and hatred. When the mind continues to pursue the path, unshaken by likes and dislikes, you are promoting manonash. And now, vasana kshaya. Vasanas, first to understand, samskaras are subtlest impressions. They exist in your unconscious. Samskaras are not your problem. Vasanas become your problem. But they come from your samskaras. Of course, they become, ultimately they are your source of all your problems, samskaras. But behind samskaras is ignorance, avidya. Vasanas come under 5 categories. Prasupta, latent. In children, vasanas are latent. All children act like sages. Because the vasana in them is sleeping. As they grow up, vasana gets awakened. It's a prasupta vasana. Now, those who go into spiritual discipline and practice sadhana in a good atmosphere, in ashrams, etc., they go through purification. And vasana comes into the state of tanu. Tanu means thinned out. You have removed its calories. So it's becoming skinny. thinned out vasana, it means you are progressing. But there is a subtle point to understand. If you become satisfied with that state, for 1 month you didn't become angry. So now you advertise, I have conquered anger. And you go viral, this person has conquered anger. And that becomes, of course, you know where I'm leading to, just a shallow. Challenging situation comes, and anger comes up with double force. I give the example of refrigerated snake. Poisonous snake, put it in refrigerator. It becomes cold and it's harmless like a rope. And if you therefore develop the illusion that you have rendered the snake void of venom, that illusion is a source of trouble. The moment the snake is given little warm milk or whatever, the poison comes back. Similarly, various negative attitudes, anger, hate, greed, they may come to a state of being refrigerated, as it were, as if they are not active. And so you may feel you have advanced. It's true you have advanced, but your advancement will be secure if you don't stay there, go further. But if you become satisfied with it, then you have not advanced, you will fall back. Next state called vichinna. Vichinna is overpowered state. While you are purifying your vasana, you are also holding back a layer of negative vasanas. The negative vasanas, just like you clean up your whole house, you have invited many people who don't have time to go through thorough cleaning. So what you will do? Put it under the rug. So to keep many negative habits of yours and agitated emotions under the rug. They have not gone. But it will appear to the world that how wonderful you are. But do not be satisfied with that type of recognition. Keep cleaning until it goes away from the rug. Next one called udar. In udar state, you don't even have the courtesy to put it under the rug. You lose your temper completely. You have no control over your own self. But at the same time, you don't feel bad about it. You feel glad about it. You become terribly angry. And someone points, have you not read anger is bad for you? He said, you foolish dullwit, have you not read that Jesus showed his righteous indignation. I'm practicing righteous indignation. The ideal, the goal behind all that study of vasana, dagdha state. Bring the vasana to tanu state, attenuated. And continue your sadhana with increasing vichar, inquiry, increasing bhakti, devotion, increasing seva, selfless service. All this leading to intuitional revelation. I am that. When that revelation comes, all desires are annihilated from the very subconscious and unconscious level. In other words, that state is called dagdhavastha, burnt up state of vasanas. Again, burnt up state of vasanas come to more in a practical way to understand. They exist in two states, sarupanash, arupanash. As long as your body is there, you will work. And your vasanas, your mind, your senses, all, your unconscious, subconscious, all are active. Your vasanas are active. But though active, you are not being in any way enriched by it. See, just like this, clouds are active. The sky is in no way dependent upon the activity of the cloud. If you are not enlightened, then it is not that state. You are dependent upon the activity of your vasanas. When enlightened, you are not dependent. You simply let your personality work out, exhaust the karma that gave the body, called prarabdha karma. And while doing that, you are not creating new karmas for securing another embodiment. No more embodiments. This becomes your last embodiment. And in that state, your vasana is sarupanash. It is there, but at the same time, it is not there. Burn up a piece of wood, it gets burnt up, but look at it, it's still there. It's called sarupanash. Now wait a little, and that gradually blows away. That's called arupanash. Whether sitting, walking, standing, sleeping, or engaged in any action, continue to maintain an unceasing flow of spiritual inquiry deep within. What you are being led to understand is that in the beginning you are practicing reflection, reflecting upon who am I. That starts depending upon your body, mind and senses. In that practice you need to do hatha yoga exercises, a little pranayam, prana allows you to touch your mind. All that there is. In other words, and even when you come to deeper practice of concentration and meditation, an effort is involved. To be awake, what I am trying to say, there are two stages. In one state, wakefulness, You have to go on pinching yourself. Am I awake? Am I awake? Another state of wakefulness, there is no effort. It's effortless. That's because that state is a real state. And it is not a state of inertia. It's a vibrant state. So that type of Jagrati, spiritual awakening develops in a person in the state of enlightenment. So whether he is sitting, walking, standing, sleeping, engaged in actions, and facing different challenging situations, deep within there is constant awareness, I am that. To put it in a very simple way to understand, the sun is always shining. Never stops shining. At all times, maintain the attitude that the world is false. Nothing exists, that nothing belongs to you. Nothing exists, nothing belongs to me. That has to be understood with a mature mind. It's a message of immense joy. As long as your mind is working upon securing your happiness in the world of time and space, there is always something is existing, something should exist better. And existing things go through lots of changes. If your mind doesn't know which one's existence you must support and which ones you should not, mind goes into tremendous turmoil. The mantra, nothing exists. Nada. Seems like a big thing to understand. But when we are sleeping, nature, without your any effort, moves everything away. Nothing exists. When you are in deep sleep, you are not with your body, not with your mind, not with your senses. You are not aware of the past, present, or future. Are you in any way at a loss? That is the real you, the real I am. How to allow your personality to grow with that type of inner understanding. The more you understand, the more you begin to change your karmas. Karmas become much more sattvic and they become nishkamya. You go on doing karmas only to purify your heart, not to secure a situation in the world. The mind is non-existent because mind doesn't have its solid reality. It's an apparent reality like mirage. Think of even a cloud. Cloud doesn't have solid reality. It's moisture coming together, creating an appearance of a substance, you call it cloud. And when that moisture moves away, rays of the sun pass through it, unclouds. Cloud is gone. Mind operates in the same way. It goes on creating opacity. Mind becomes more and more dense. But when vichar brings the light to pass through the cloud, I am that. If that type of bhakti and jnana begin to work upon the cloud of your mind, now the cloud in the beginning tries to push them back. But as your sadhana continues, a leakage comes in the cloud. Once a leakage comes, and you find time and a special type of taste in satsanga, in practicing sadhana, once that starts, now the same cloud, the same mind becomes fascinated by that experience. Even though as the light begins to pass through the cloud is diminishing. But cloud doesn't care. It begins to shine brighter and brighter. In brief, that process brings about effacement of the mind. Mind again comes into those two types, sarupanash, arupanash. Mind is there but is not creating any illusion. And finally, when karma over, that your soul will not come back with mind. Mind is not needed anymore. Just as a wild cat depends upon the might of the lion for its sustenance, so too the mind is ever dependent upon the might of pure consciousness for its existence. Yoga Vasistha gives a simile of a wild cat. Your mind is a wild cat, constantly meowing. Me and mind. But all its strength comes from consciousness. Consciousness, chit. Chit turns into chitta. When chit becomes involved with mental projection, that's what, whenever we are using the term mind, that's what we mean. Chit blended with projections of Maya. That projected reality is like a meowing cat. The projected world seems to be the real world, but it is not. It's sustained by pure consciousness. That consciousness is the lion. In wilderness, cat waits for the lion to finish his eating, and then he sneaks into that and eats what lion has left out. So, whatever consciousness supports, in other words, your mind is completely dependent upon consciousness. It doesn't have its own reality. And with this I will conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramayana. Hari Om.